Hi, welcome back. If you have been excited for the release of Destined Rivals with pre-release starting tomorrow, I have more information for you. We have seen, thankfully, 2 YouTube videos that I will link down below for Destined Rivals pre-release kits, so we'll get an idea of what you get in the kit, what we can build around. So without much ado, I need to say thank you to Stooben and also to Smash Cafe, and if you like the information I provide, it's because of these 2 guys. So let's get on to what you get if you open a pre-release kit and what decks you'll see. So I've got with me my little notepad and we're going to talk through some of the decks as we go. So if you see me looking away, it is just to refer to my notes. So the big headline deck to maybe get is the Ethan's deck. The Ethan's deck comes with a 3-2-3 line of Typhlosion, and you also get 2 of the Ethan's Adventures. This is very exciting because it means you are going to be attacking for 160 for 1 energy if you get to do the thing. That thing is play Ethan's, find your Pokemon, evolve through, and then you're always set up for those big KOs potentially, especially in pre-release. You'll also notice the numbers are interesting. If you get the Ethan's kit, you are most likely going to get Rare Candy as one of your generic cards. This is a really good self-contained engine with 10 cards that you can then play all the other generic supporters that you get within your kit, which is probably like 5 to 6. You'll probably get something with the other support trainer that you get, depending how you view things. And you could easily just splash in some other cards with this. It's really quick and easy. The Ethan's deck builds itself. Your packs will really help you out, and whatever your other half is just cannon fodder for you to play the Ethan's deck. This is real fast, real simple. I don't think we can really say much more about this. It's actually the sort of most beginner friendly deck and the most likely to win pre-release. We'll get that out of the way early. But we will move on to a surprising trainer next. Now the next 3 trainers I actually found quite surprising, especially this one, which is Misty's. Misty's comes with the 2-2 Gyarados line, but it also comes with a 2-2 Starmie Staryu line and a Lapras. Now most of these decks are about 8 to 10 cards, and my suspicion, having looked at some of these kit openings thanks to the previously mentioned content creators, I think the Misty's deck comes with a Super Rod for you to potentially do some recycling with your Gyarados if you do the thing, and then Surfer because, you know, water Pokemon and surfing, which means you've got a Gyarados retreat into another Gyarados if you're getting low HP. Potentially as well, the Surfer could maybe be a Brox. I'm a little bit unsure how that's running at the moment, but it's something to keep an eye out when you open your kits. So you've got very little synergy with your Pokemon if you look at these cards closely. Gyarados wants you to mill things, whereas meanwhile Staryu cares about being evolved from your hand, and Lapras is your searcher. So we have these little clashes of synergy available, or unavailable to us, should I say. These situations then mean that what you're probably doing with the Misty's deck is actually cutting out Gyarados, or you're using it as a late game attacker. Couple of benefits to Gyarados is if your Magikarp is on the bench and your opponent has a snipe attack for bench, you are safe because of the Go Submerged, you are constantly protected. But the Gyarados mills you out, and it's a 40 card deck format, so it's not very good. However, the Starmie Staryu could be splashable into other decks, especially if you expect a lot of people to be forcing Ethans. You will be hitting Ethans for weakness, and being able to use the evolution ability to boost up your Staryu attack will be massive. There is a lot of little things that we can do, but I think you are largely looking at this as a counter to Typhlosion through the Staryu. We're not looking for big Gyarados hits. You may get them occasionally. You may be able to stack it if you pull a Sacred Ash, which isn't in the pre-release kits. That was one of my predictions. It's Super Rod is your option. Your engine here is Lapras, Starmie, Staryu, and then your supporters, and probably praying that you've got a better big attacker potentially available to you. Now, onto the combination of Team Rocket's Pokemon, and what do they give us? Let's start with the elephant in the room. So we're on to the third Pokemon, which is the ever controversial Mimikyu card. Now, things that I predicted was perhaps we get the Giovanni's card which will give you the cool play that is listed on the Pokemon website. They do not give us this. If you get Mimikyu, your supporting Pokemon are probably going to be the Weezing line, which come in a 4-2 lineup. And then there's 2 Murkrow, an Archer, a Proton, and a Rocket's Energy. Now the generics that you seem to get with the Rocket stuff seems to be Ultra Ball, Youngster, and Switch, which is an interesting choice, especially the Switch, given that you've already got the Mimikyu. So perhaps that's your Guzma replacement. It's more generic and it's more open to things. Despite the awful promo, the Koffing Weezing line could actually be quite impressive, because the Koffing has an ability that if it's damaged or KO'd, it finds you more Koffing to put onto your bench and to promote. So if you open Koffing, you can't get donked unless they've got a condition on you. You cannot get donked. It is a damage ability. However, Weezing is going to be good. So if you go first and have the Koffing up, and then you have Weezing, you will be able to attack for 120 via the attachment of a Team Rocket's Energy, which is a really good combo. However, it is your one of Team Rocket Energy unless you're lucky enough to pull some others from your pre-release packs. This seems like a very good little lineup. However, I feel that you are on your own, and when we talk about the other Team's Rocket Pokemon in a moment, when we were looking through Smash Cafe, they seemed to pull a kit with both of them, which didn't give him Super Rod, which means that your ability to rely on the Koffing line or recycling comes down to a combination of keeping hold of Poffins that you potentially get in hand and having Sacred Ash, or you have a set with a Super Rod to set up and you can keep some kind of Koffing recycle going up. But that seems to be an interesting thing. You also do have the Proton, which allows you to first turn set up a Koffing board as well. So if you're forced to go second, you can either choose to tank a hit, or you can a Proton for your 3 Rockets Pokemon and get going. And if you get knocked out, you also have the Archer to act as like an unfair stamp to try and like punish them twice. Once for the Koffing ability, and then the following turn you draw 5, they draw 3. So potentially getting Mimikyu isn't as awful as we thought. From what I've also seen, if you get the support package of Weezing and Koffing Murkrow, the Mimikyu seemingly gets replaced by a research from what I could see. I'm not 100% certain, but that's what my little bit of research has given us. Which gives us finally one big Team Rocket Pokemon to talk about. So let's talk about him. So here he is, the final Pokemon to talk about, which is Team Rocket's Tyranitar, which seems to come in a 3-2-3 line along with Rare Candy and Rocket's Energy, Great Ball, and potentially Lacey from what we can see looking at the Smash Cafe pulls. Tyranitar could be better than I thought, because you do get the Rocket Energy, which accelerates your turn in energy, which is a bigger deal than attaching 4 energy to your Pokemon. So potentially with the Rare Candy in your set, you are jumping straight into your turn 3 of the game. You skip stage 1 evolution, Rare Candy, and all their basics are taking 20 damage. Now this is really good and really bad. It's really good for setup. You've got a big tanky Pokemon, but you're still waiting another turn to attack. You need to attach that fighting because of the Team Rocket Pokemon don't get Luminous Energy, they get Psychic or Dark. So we have that conversation to have to look at, and there's no energy acceleration that I can remember or see in the format. A little bit like the Ethan's deck, you can go and jump straight in, as I say, with the Rare Candy. And if you open this with the Mimikyu deck, and I use that loosely because you don't get the Mimikyu promo in that half, you'll get the Weezing line. You will get hold of a second Team Rocket's Energy, which would be great because you can set up your 2 Tyranitar that you potentially can get done in a game rather than having to go all the way through. The benefit you also get then is you get the, I'm unsure if you still get the Rocket's Proton and the Rocket's Archer for the stun ability, and I'm unsure because the one copy of the Tyranitar deck I've seen open came with the other Rockets half, so that could be a strong blend if you get those. I do think that the Rocket stuff as a little mini function deck could be good. Ethan's Typhlosion is the deck to beat. However, the Misty's deck is potentially a counter to that deck. It reminds me a little bit of Obsidian Flames, where you had Camerupt versus Palafin, and I'm trying to remember the third Pokemon. Maybe someone can remind me. But we had in that format, we had a nice little triangle format of pre-release kits and builds. We also have a lot of generic supporters we can quickly talk about. You are likely to get a Research, a Brock Scouting, Nest Ball, Poffin. The Rocket's Pokemon seem to come with an Ultra Ball. The Ethan's Misty's Pokemon seem to come with a Great Ball. So there's some little options there for the building. And there's some stuff where if you get two good halves, if you get Ethan's and Misty's, you can beat Ethan's and Misty's. Whereas if you've got the Rocket stuff, you are potentially playing a slower, more controlled game, which could be a very intriguing format to have. If you've made it this far, I would like to say thank you. Again, thank you to Stooben, thank you to Smash Cafe for having the pack openings. And if you could like, comment or subscribe to let me know that you enjoy this content or you'd like to see more, it'd be much appreciated. Good luck with your pre-releases. We'll see you again.